Welcome to the Grappling With Podcast. Dr. Chris Hardy and William Walker will take a deep dive into topics covering wellness and prevention, performance, recovery, and injury management. Our mission is to provide the latest science-based information to help you get the most out of your grappling journey, both on and off the mats, and help you overcome any challenges you may be grappling with. Dr. Hardy is a licensed physician and BJJ practitioner, but the contents of the podcast are meant for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Please seek out personalized care from your own medical provider prior to implementing any medical treatment or
I'm registered. I'm not licensed.
Bill is a licensed buffoon. He says things that are a little squirrely. Do not hold these things against his gym mates,
Board
his
certified.
family, Chris Hardy, Harry Hardy, or anybody at his gym.
Should I add my mom in there?
You could probably. I would definitely put your mom on the disclaimer.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
How's it going?
Oh, I'm a victim of middle-aged orthodontics. I had an appointment first thing this morning. They beat the crap out of my teeth and removed brackets and hammered on them
Tightened you up.
Dude, like 2 hours.
Get that snaggle tooth fixed.
So yeah, it adds to my general wonderful demeanor that I've
like
had
a
lately.
7 a.m. drive to Bellevue.
Yeah.
She'll suck the soul out of you.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I feel like shaking my fist while I'm on my lawn and just being a mean old man today.
Shooting squirrels. Anybody that drives by your house a little too fast. You're just,
slow down. Yeah, that kind of thing. Nah, it doesn't work. That's just funny.
Well, we took a week off
Yeah.
for Memorial Day.
Yep.
Because old Bill had a tummy ache. I'm basically Gordon Ryan.
Dude, that's no joke, man.
That's true.
I know it's fun to joke about, but man, when you got that GI stuff going on, that would knock you down, man.
I appreciate the jokes with Gordon, but knowing just at least a little bit of what he's going through, holy balls.
He's got it to the nth degree, though, man.
You're right.
And I just feel, I don't care.
I just have a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm not, diminishing what you're going through, but man, I understand, he's very opinionated and has a whole persona and stuff. But man, I mean, some people don't like him, but you know what?
You see the
feel for him, man, because dude, I mean, that just sucks.
Yeah.
And
some people like to see him that way.
Okay.
And they're monsters.
They are. Just those are the same people. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody wishes that on anyone. And if they do, you need to take a look in the mirror a little bit. Dude, because that just sucks, man. I don't care who it is, man.
Yeah, it's definitely brutal. What did you see? Did you read about the tonsillitis thing? Like,
I didn't really get into it too much, honestly.
It seems like he's rejecting antibiotics and all that, probably because of all the staph stuff he's dealt with. Right?
It destroyed his gut flora for a year. It sounded like back in the day there, and that's hard to come back from. We've talked about this in our podcast about gut health and stuff. Where that's like that's like another organ system we have, and it is responsible for so many different things: immune regulation, metabolism. It's a horrible thing to go south because it affects everything. That gut-brain connection, dude. I mean,
well, for our long-lasting listeners, the people that have kind of been around since the beginning, they would probably remember I used to do every podcast with a Bang energy drink.
You did.
And a candy bar of some sort.
I would cringe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some sort of Reese's Nutrageous.
Yeah.
Depending on how I'm feeling.
Sure.
And that doesn't happen anymore. So it was always a joke because, I trained so much. I could look healthy and all that. And as you always said off mic, it's going to catch up to you.
The wheels are going to fall off eventually.
At some point. Not just from a training perspective, because I train a lot, but
health
from internal. And we started seeing it. With maybe I'm not gaining fat, but internally the wheels were coming off.
The inflammation, and a lot of people don't realize how much that affects mood regulation. Circadian rhythm. I mean, so much is tied up in there, man. It is like a cornerstone of health. That's why Carrie, a lot of her patients, they always, people are having quote unquote food allergies and things like that. Yeah. There are real food allergies like peanut and stuff, but many people think they have a bunch of food allergies when really they have intestinal permeability from an inflamed GI system, man.
Well, that's the thing. It was in the beginning, it was really hard to figure out what it was gastritis, right? Yeah, gastritis was.
That's just the location, right? That just means a stomach inflammation, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's what gastritis is, where ileitis is the ileum, part of the small intestine. Colitis is the it's just, you put an itis at the end of whatever.
Got it.
Yeah, geography there.
So it was hard to identify what was causing this like 8 to 10 hour window of like I'm literally like laying in the fetal position.
Oh yeah.
In our bathroom or on the floor for 8 to 10 hours,
Oh,
and I
that's
can't
horrible,
do anything.
dude. Yeah.
And depending on when it would start, like if it started at let's say 5 or 6 or
You mean in the evening?
yeah, then I could still get a couple hours of sleep. But if it would hit me at like after training and it's like 10 o'clock and it hits me,
Which happened recently to you.
I ain't sleeping,
Dude.
you know.
God, man.
And it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that's when something like an elimination diet is pretty good. Just kind of cut out everything that is kind of not.
And we were able to, there's some easy low level stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which is the stuff we just talked about. Some processed sugar, maybe
Soda.
Caffeine.
which was soda.
Pepsi.
We started noticing it happening with if I drank Pepsi, because that would be kind of like let's say a Saturday after training, like a little treat, or if we went out to dinner, I'd grab a soda. And if I did that 2 days in a row, it was like I could feel it. The stomachs did not like that. And I was like, okay, that's probably something. Now, is it the caffeine or is it the sugar or is it both?
Or the carbonation too.
Or the carbonation maybe. So starting to take notice of when I would maybe not have too much Pepsi, but I had some treats. Then I would get the same feeling. So then it's like sugar, probably some processed sugar really causing that, right? So yeah, started eliminating some of those things and paying attention to, okay, what if I have coffee on like an empty stomach? Am I going to feel it then? So there's a caffeine piece because I don't put sugar in.
It's so interesting. There's so much to piece together. Were you ever tested for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, otherwise known as SIBO?
No.
I think we're waiting to do that test.
Because that makes sense. If you're feeding, especially the sugar, that would make sense to me. I'm not the expert that Carrie is with it, but
which she's asked for me to do a test for probably 2 months now, and I haven't done it. So.
That's good to know, though, man, because there's protocols to kind of help with that.
Yeah,
right.
And so, pretty much limiting a lot of I don't even know in the last. Well, I guess I had a candy bar not too long ago, a couple of weeks, but it's limiting that stuff and especially like the frequency, doing it a couple days in a row.
Well, and if you don't eat any food for an extended period of time and then eat something, it'll show up.
Yeah. If I
you ate something at 8 a.m., but then you didn't eat till 6 p.m., it'll happen.
I would probably recommend listening to your doctor and getting the test.
Yeah. She wants me to bring a bucket of poo into her.
You just say yes, ma'am.
A whole bucket. It's going to take me a week to fill that. She said, do it.
I don't know. You could talk for half an hour and do that.
That was uncalled for.
That's pretty funny, though.
That's a shot across the bow. That was a good one.
It was a pretty good one, though. I had that one up there. That's all I got, though.
Did you think about that before?
No. I'm just. It must be the new supplement stuff I'm taking. It's firing, brother.
Some
lion's mane. Yeah.
Dang.
Propping up on whatever L-Dopa or whatever I'm taking for all my stuff.
That's a nice rebuttal to my RAV4 comment this weekend.
Yeah, I know.
Slapped you in the face with.
It was pretty funny too, though.
Nice shirt that you're wearing. Too.
Oh yeah. Well, you got it for me.
I know.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. I thought I'd represent
old man strength.
Yeah. You can't see it. It's big on the back. It has strong like bull.
It's like it's an Australian brand, I think.
I like it.
Yeah.
One more real quick thing.
Yeah.
This is we don't have any sponsors, but I always like recommending stuff that I've come across that I like.
Yeah.
I love Element.
We drink it
the
multiple times a day.
Well, I found another brand that is about $15 less expensive
for a pack.
Well, this is in a canister. It's the same amount, but it's in a scoopable powder. Okay. Has pretty much the same. Looks very similar to the amount of electrolytes
and stuff. Yeah.
Very the same, no sugar, that whole thing, and has 2 flavors. And what I like about it is I can just take a little. Like if I have a smaller glass, I can take a little. It's easier to scoop.
Yeah.
And
because we'll get a huge thing sometimes, so we got to put 2 element packets in there, and it's not always perfect. So
right, and so but it's called Ballast.
Ballast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have 2 flavors, lemon lime and a grapefruit. It's really good.
And they're pretty good.
Yeah, and so it's also about $10, $15 less expensive for the same 30-day supply.
Yeah, and I think we do over 2 boxes a month.
We at least do that too. And this is not a bag on Element, but I'm just like, it's
good to have options.
The free market is great, right?
Yeah.
Ballast, I like it. We've used it now for about a week.
Okay.
Because I wanted to try it out because it looked very, very similar as far as the amount of sodium, amount of potassium, magnesium.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, that's great to know because there is Liquid IV. That's another one, but that one's even more expensive than Element typically.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that as
taste
much.
Or product
taste, product wise in general. I think it has, it also has sugar in it. Just so you know. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
yeah, I think Liquid IV. If you need something, it's good.
Yeah,
but if you're talking about your daily, like I said, we pretty much if we drink water, it
has an element. In it.
This one doesn't because I just filled it up in the faucet. But Olivia's got one with a couple.
I have the lemon lime Ballast in here right now. I like it.
Anyone that trains, I would say anything that's whether it's jiu-jitsu, CrossFit, or maybe you just do high intensity, like even bodybuilder style workouts.
Especially if you sweat like me.
Yeah, if you're just a big sweater in general as well, dude, like it's genuinely out of any supplement, probably the thing that's made the biggest difference for me.
Yep.
That's tangible, and I'm not a big placebo guy. I'm very skeptical, and all that kind of stuff. So that's good to know. I think we'll
give it a shot.
Phone.
Yeah,
did you find? I'm already.
Did you find it?
Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
yeah, I did.
It's legit.
She already bought it.
Well, I love grapefruit. I love the Element grapefruit flavor.
Their grapefruit is even better, I think. And I love the Element grapefruit.
Yeah.
So
is it not quite as salty tasting as Element?
No, I don't.
Because Element, that's the one thing with Element is some people find it to be a little harsh on but I think maybe their ratio isn't quite as good.
They probably are putting too much powder in the
8 to 12 ounce.
Yeah,
water.
you need to up your volume a little bit.
16.
Like I have 2 scoops of Ballast in 64 ounces here, so it's about 1 scoop for 32.
Okay.
Is it possible? I know we've talked about this before, but is it possible to ever overdo it on as in if you drank like 2 a day or 3 a day, like Element packets, is it possible to overdo it, like long-term usage or anything?
Not if you have healthy kidneys.
Okay.
Your kidneys pretty much will sort that out. Now, if you're doing it on top of a whole bunch of processed food that has a ton of sodium in it, and you're getting just crazy amounts. But I eat pretty dang clean.
Yeah.
And, I want to get at least 5 grams of. Right. So at
then
least
you throw on top of how much you're sweating.
Dude.
It's like,
yeah, man. So I'm not ever worried about that. If you eat a bunch of crap.
What would be a sign if you're over getting too much? Is there any sort of
it's really hard to do. Sodium, so what you really find more often is low sodium. We see hyponatremia is what that's called. Or you can have big time neurological problems. You can die from that actually. We see that in those people that do like a half marathon that haven't trained in a while, sweat their butt off, and then just drink a gallon of just water, right? And they get actually dilute.
I just saw something about with your pets. If they go outside and they get super hot, then they come inside and they're doing the heavy panting. Like do not put a huge bowl of water in front of them.
Same thing. Hyponatremia is that's low sodium. You can the potassium is even more worrisome as far as getting off of the normal values because you can have cardiac problems with that, heart problems, conduction problems with that, hyperkalemia it's called, or hypokalemia. Hypernatremia, it's pretty hard to do with intact kidneys. What you'll do is you'll maybe feel a little more bloated. You'll have a little more fluid retention. Your blood pressure can come up transiently. Now, if you eat a bunch of crap all the time with a whole bunch of sodium, it can contribute to high blood pressure, but it's correctable, right? Yeah. So people wig out about, you can't have salt. I'm like, well, you need it.
That's like big time mentality.
That drives me crazy too. Yeah. So anyway, that's a tangent.
Cool. We were talking about Gordon Ryan and some of the stuff he's going through. That we had a comment about someone that on our staff episode, staff in MRSA and all that, they actually just got diagnosed with MRSA. Saw the infection a little over 2 weeks ago, and they haven't trained since, of course, right? Let their coach know, and they said that that is getting better, but the doctor said, interestingly, that as long as it's covered, it's okay to train.
Not jiu-jitsu, my friend.
What their doctor said, yeah.
Does your doctor train jiu-jitsu?
Well, no, he listened to our episode, and they said that I know I can't return until it's totally healed. So happy that he got something out of the episode and didn't just like listen to a doctor that can help heal it, but not,
look, it's just like, and I'm not trying to shit on doctors, but I kind of am.
Yeah, you are.
But, if you don't, the biggest problem my colleagues have sometimes is they don't know what they don't know.
You're talking about Dr. Kang.
No, I'm not. He's one of the best guys around. You better shut up. He does have a very nice billboard with a 10-foot face.
He does.
Yeah, we saw
we
that.
synced it.
Yeah.
And it was
well, if you know him at all, he's very keeps his cards to the chest. He's not very he doesn't like attention.
I've only seen him throw the surgeon card around a couple times. It was at a grocery store once and a gas station.
No, you're lying.
He is one of the most humble guys around, and to have a big billboard of his face was horrifying for him.
Oh, so good.
Because the backstory is real quick. He went to another employer, and they wanted to advertise him basically hey, we got a new foot and ankle
because it's
surgeon.
right off I-5.
Yeah.
Busy part, and they have one of those digital billboards, and you see it.
And unfortunately for him, we have some people coming from up north that happen to see that.
I have some customers in that town, Burlington and Bellingham. So when we go up there,
it's great.
We look for it every time.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. But anyway, I was just saying about some of my colleagues. They'll talk about something, and they're used to being the doctor or whatever, and sometimes they don't know what they're talking about, especially if
it's the same with black belts. Honestly,
very true.
Yeah.
You could, all of a sudden you feel like you should have all the answers, and you don't. And if you don't train something, it's like I wouldn't give advice to someone that does biathlons, right? The whole cross country skiing and shooting.
Yeah.
I don't know the sport.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're talking about, you can go back to training, that's a generic thing. Weight training? Maybe. Yeah, sure. But not rubbing body parts together for,
Right.
if you have MRSA, right? And so anyway, it's just a little.
It was good that he got something out of
That's
that.
great. Good. I'm glad that was helpful for him.
That episode actually seems to be pretty helpful for a lot of people, I feel like.
Well, it's something that we deal with, both whether it's tinea or ringworm or MRSA. I mean, those are,
so common.
Yeah, especially in not so much in ours. We do a pretty good cleaning job here. It still can happen, but in grappling in general.
So we had another question come in. It was worded a little odd, but the question came from a clip on TV. It was a theory that some people had about, I think, staying healthy with if you have too much sugar. So the question was, does drinking a Diet Coke cancel out if you had some sugar before that? So let's say I had some donuts. If I drank a Diet Coke after, does that cancel out the sugar I took in from the donuts?
I want you to answer that question.
Well, it came from a good soul, so here.
Do you drink water? No water at all? Okay. All right. And then what are you drinking during the day?
Sodies.
Sodies.
Soda pops.
Okay.
Where are you getting this
How
from?
much do you think you drink a day?
8 to 12 a day.
8 to 12 cans? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's regular soda?
No, it's diet.
It's diet. Okay.
Our mom told us when we were younger, if we ate a sugar, you drink a Diet Coke afterwards and it'll cancel out the sugar.
Okay.
Okay.
That's very. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, and you can see the visual there that
It does not cancel.
it didn't cancel.
It did not cancel
Yeah.
for these two young ladies.
Laws of thermodynamics too. You're taking energy in. That'd be like antimatter, right?
Yeah, antimania.
You could take an anti-calorie where it would suck the calories.
Is that what Diet
out.
Coke is?
No. It is a chemical concoction. Matter of fact, there's some problems with some of the artificial sweeteners and how they hit the reward systems in the brain.
Didn't something just come out somewhat recently
Sucralose.
about and what's the stuff in diet that?
You're talking about sucralose, which is NutraSweet. They're talking about DNA.
But what's the
Aspartame?
aspartame?
Oh, that's always been bad. We know that's been bad.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I thought something came out recently that was like unequivocal proof that like that sucralose and that.
Well, sucralose is different, but aspartame is another one where we've known that for a long time. It breaks down into different methanol and, gosh, I'll remember the breakdown. Formic acid. I forgot what it was. I'm just going to talk out of my butt right now. I forgot what the breakdown, but it's neurotoxic. Mm-hmm. Right, it's not good for neurons at all. That stuff is bad for you. Most of those things aren't. What's interesting about artificial sweeteners in general is it's the same way where like you can swish around some sugar water in your mouth and all of a sudden have more energy. Mm-hmm. It communicates with your brain.
That's what you had me do for the weight cut. I swished Coke around and spit it. Yeah.
Right. But when you're trying to diet, it messes with the reward systems in your brain. And people that are overweight usually have problems with that anyway. Uh-huh. The drive to eat and satiety and all that. Yeah. And so it can actually make things a little worse.
And a habit piece of like, like a smoker, you know?
Yeah. The diet sodas aren't the best. Mm-hmm. And, I drink stuff with stevia in it, but mm-hmm. I don't know. Long term, I don't know if doesn't seem to be as much of a problem, but
yeah.
Stay tuned.
Right.
I mean,
well, I don't know if you're the best example.
Probably not.
Your mental state.
Yeah. Actually, it's gotten better lately.
I mean, compared to
the Lions mean?
Gerbil.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to chalk it up to that. I'm doing a lot of other stuff. Carrie has me on for mitochondrial health and stuff.
What are you taking? Now I'm curious.
I'm going to have to tell you afterwards.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah. Okay.
That's for the Patreon.
Yeah. For the Patreon. Yeah. Yeah. So that was very funny.
Yeah. That question came in.
I think you could probably sort that one out for yourself without asking me. That probably doesn't.
That's what I thought that the guy that sent it in could do, mm-hmm. but he genuinely was wondering. Mm. You know,
okay.
He's got the body of a baby armadillo.
Okay. Well, it's not true.
Okay. Well, if he listens, he'll hear that. Otherwise, I'll just text him and let him know.
Okay.
That he's a fat piece of shit.
We like shaming here, apparently.
But you had some sort of topic that you kept close to the chest.
No, it's not.
Or should we talk about the worlds? I don't know. Wait, you want to do that after?
Yeah, let's talk about worlds afterwards.
Okay.
Before I rant.
Yeah.
A rant.
Okay.
Right. It's not a rant. It's kind of, we've talked about similar things before, but I want to pose this to you. So when you have someone, and this usually happens at the lower belts, right? Where someone, and not always though. I've seen it. I've seen some at higher ones too. But in the gym, where someone seems to just have one speed or one gear, not just fast either. Mm-hmm. That's the most common. It's just like they're in one speed the entire time.
Yeah.
That could be, it's not as common, but I could see, someone is in just low gear the whole time too.
Sure.
And not as dynamic, where you'll have more of an ebb and flow. I think it can hurt development in your game.
Yeah.
Listen, going with someone that is just at, 0 to 10, they're always at a 10, no matter what there's a lot of subtle things in jiu-jitsu, detecting weight shifts, kind of reading what your training partner's doing or your opponent's doing.
Yeah.
Getting that body feedback, developing timing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially, and plus, I think I see a lot of injuries happen because of that too, where both to the person themselves and maybe to their training partner due to like an uncontrolled body weight pretty much when we're trying to do, and, I think it's something to really kind of take a step back and look at, really having a couple, just like driving a car, like if I'm in traffic, I'm not going to be pedal to the metal the entire time, just hoping my driving skills, or I'm going to avoid everyone. And, I also don't want to be the person going 45 in the left lane on the interstate the whole time, right? Because that can cause problems too.
Right.
The analogy, and I think there's an ebb and flow that I think is very useful to develop.
Yeah.
During rolling, especially.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think it's, if someone's stuck in one gear, do they know it? That's a difficult thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. If they know it, how can they get out of it? That's going to be a big challenge.
And that's kind of why I want to bring this up.
Yeah.
So let's do a hypothetical. Let's say that you have, completely hypothetical. Let's say you just opened a new school. You're developing a whole bunch of people white belts from the ground up.
Yeah.
And you start seeing that, especially when they're getting near blue belt and someone's just not being able to get out of that one gear.
Yeah.
What would you think you'd approach?
If they're on the side of like balls to the wall,
which most are typically,
I would say that's probably the more often than the other side. And I'd say the other side I feel like can be a little easier to actually address.
I agree, but
someone that's on the
they're stuck in the slow lane.
Yeah, and it's like can be difficult to like ramp up intensity to finish a sweep or something like that, or not get swept. I feel like that can be a little easier to develop than back off the throttle, right? To help someone back off the throttle, it's controversial.
I know. Because that has some advantages to be able to get to that gear.
Yes.
Right?
You don't want to, I think some people, because of lack of conversation, will say one thing, like with social media, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or whatever, we have a very small snippet of text we can put in there or a comment or something like that. And it's not a conversation. So we just go on like, you got to back off the throttle, Well, we don't want to, like a wrestler, for example, you don't want to coach wrestling out. I'm not saying technique. I'm saying the mentality.
For sure.
You don't want a wrestler to not be a wrestler in his mind. Like
I agree.
You want to keep that tenacity, the pace, and all that makes them so hard to deal with from the get-go, right? Because a lot of time, that's the hardest thing to deal with a wrestler is they got such a good motor and in a dog mentality and all this stuff. It's not necessarily the technical side, especially when they're just coming in. And I'm talking about being like an upper belt going against one.
Yep.
It's more so the other side. And I think sometimes people get caught up in coaching that out of them. Like, hey, just calm down, slow down. So, yeah, kind of. But I don't think that's necessarily the best solution. Now, the controversial thing that I was going to say is, and it's controversial. Some people think it's bullshit. Some people think whatever. But and I think that's just a part of lack of definition is flow. Flow rolling, quote unquote.
I know.
So there's different kinds of flow rolling. There's different kinds of mentalities within that. Now, I think there's a way to teach a style of flow rolling that is more creative and opens up your mind to slow things down a little bit intentionally, because oftentimes the spaz, whether there's an injury thing, like they could potentially injure themselves or someone else on accident, or the thing that happens with wrestlers the most is they overcommit to stuff and then they get caught in a submission.
That's right.
Their head's in the wrong place.
Or they get swept or something.
They get swept. They give up their back, arm bars, whatever. Obviously there's a technical piece there where they're putting their head in a wrestling situation. It'd be good, but in jiu-jitsu, it's exposed. So there can be a technical piece. But on top of that, they can overcommit to things because they're just...
That's where I was going with this.
Right. And obviously, even worse than that is potentially injuring someone, right? And then what ends up happening is the trickle-down effect of that is you'll lose training partners.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is people just won't train with you.
Right.
Now you go to the gym and there's only 5 people that will be willing to roll with you because they just don't want to get hurt.
Right.
Whatever the potential risk, it's even if it's an upper belt, it's like, I don't really think he's going to hurt me, but there's a chance. And it would be completely accidental. So some sort of situational drilling or sparring, or actual sparring where you introduce some sort of positional flow rolling. Now, flow rolling, some people, when they think of it, they're, like I said, there's multiple different kinds, but some ways you can have where people are like kind of like flopping around and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying there's not even a place for that. If you're doing something very specific, you have to be like knowing what you're doing, knowing that we're backing off the throttle. You also have to have a good training partner.
That's right.
That's going to be able to do that as well. Because what inevitably can happen, and a lot of the time does happen, is, hey, you want to just kind of flow?
Yeah, you know where it goes. That intensity goes, juk, juk, juk,
exactly.
You start climbing that, yeah.
They start taking your back, and you're like, whoa, no, you're not getting my back.
Yep.
Right. In my opinion, in this scenario, part of that is from a technical perspective, the speed should be like half to 75% of your normal speed. So we're not backing way off to where we're going like 30%, but there's, and then also you're exploring positions, bad positions, good positions, right? So the example I like to do is, let's say me and you are doing this style of flow rolling where you start knee cutting me. You're getting past. I have my frames. I put my frames up. You address my frames in a good way for you. Okay. Well, now I have to imagine I cannot get my frames back because you just defeated them. Now I'm going to start turtling away. You start addressing that by starting to take my back. Now I'm not going to fight for dear life to get my back out, but I'm going to use tight elbows and good hands to not allow hooks in. So then you trap my arms, or you trap an arm. Okay, now you have my back with an arm trapped. Okay, you start trying to apply submission. I start sinking down. Now, once again, you're going 50 to 75% effort, right? I start spinning because you have an arm trap. I start spinning. Well, I did a negative thing, right? In this moment, you loosened up a little bit. I spun thinking I could just spin out of your back control. And now I'm in a triangle because I had an arm trapped. Okay. I'm in a triangle. Now you're not going balls to the wall to finish me, but you have some tension. Now I need to address the submission I'm in so that I'm starting to put in a triangle defense. So you allow the triangle defense, like you watch what I do, and then you say, okay, where's the opening? There's an armbar there. There's a back take there. Or I got to let go of the triangle. Now you're exploring these positions that in the heat of the moment, the 1-speed guy would be going so hard, he wouldn't even think
that's
in the moment.
And so if we look at this, we could rebrand this. Instead of flow rolling, it's like flow chart, like BJJ flow, where here you are, you have this or this. And basically he does this or this. I have this or this.
You have an opportunity to tap into that chart.
Exactly.
Because the speed isn't quite there. And some people be like, well, no one ever can do that. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've had partners that I've done it with.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've developed quite a bit from it. Now, you do have to find that partner. And, if let's say the partner starts ramping up a little bit, okay. Well, in this one, you're going to be doing your defense. You don't have to match them.
But you guys can develop it with that skill with your partner and give each other feedback.
Or tell them, slow down. Hey, slow down.
Yeah.
We're flowing.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to say that. You're not going to think you're a puss.
Yeah.
It's your training partner.
Yeah.
And if you have knockout, drag out rolls with them, they know you're not like, you don't have to fear like your training partner's going to think you're soft. Because it happens. I've done it. I think I still have moments where people think I'm a soft roll or something like that, Yeah. So that comes into our thought process, but you don't have to think that, especially if it's a trusted partner that you've trained with a long time that you've had the tough rounds with. You're just trying to explore movement and explore your own mindset and explore the charts and the flows and all that kind of stuff.
Because those can start becoming ingrained.
Yeah.
And where you can hit those.
Which is why you also need to be very cerebral, cognizant of what you're doing. Because if you do this too much, you will develop bad habits.
That's true too.
It's similar to drilling shit technique. So in the beginning of class, I think we're like 2 months in now of every class. We warm up with a minute and a half. One person goes for a minute and a half arm bars. Then they switch, minute and a half arm bars. Then minute and a half of triangles. Then minute and a half of omoplatas from collar sleeve. Like that's every class. That's how we warm up. Okay. That doesn't take very long. And they're getting a jiu-jitsu movement and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, I constantly am barking throughout that and telling people how you drill is how you're going to do it. So if you're throwing up a triangle without even getting your hips in the air,
that's right.
You're not going to capture a triangle.
Just to say that I got these reps
ever in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be a snake and shoot your hips up to capture, Same with like on an arm bar when you're pushing the face and you go to chop and from arm bar from bottom and you go to kick the leg around the head. I tell them, chop the back of the head. Like it's your calf. You're not going to hurt them.
Right.
But chop hard because when you throw an arm bar from closed guard in real time, you're aggressive.
Right.
Like you have to be. So if you drill in a lackadaisical manner, your arm bars, your whatever it is you're drilling is going to be lackadaisical in the moment. So it's the same thing. No, if you flow roll like only or 80% of the time.
Let's call it flow chart rolling.
Flow chart. If you do this, you have the potential to actually develop poor technique because you're used to like, they're not taking advantage.
That's right.
I put my elbow here and it's,
that's right.
So you're doing this just to explore position, maybe an intro to timing, that kind of stuff.
Well, and that's a good segue too with timing because I think that is a really hard thing to develop.
Yeah.
Being able to feel position shifts, weight shifts, and know where to hit that.
What do you think develops timing the best? Drilling, situational, sparring?
I think sparring does because it's more realistic where people are going for as far as the timing aspect of it. And like you've accused me before, I know jokingly, of lulling.
Yeah.
Where I'll wait. I'm not going to fight for a position. I'll wait for a position shift or I'll even bait a position shift. And then I'll pop it. You know what I mean? I'll just over and over and looking instead of just trying to. The worst thing you can do is try to force a sweep on a position that's not there. Right. And learn.
We're overcommitting and
that's
exposing yourself.
And that's what I'm talking about. So developing that that weight distribution feel, that whole thing, and then explode real quick. Right. And so that's where that those gears come into place I'm kind of talking about.
I think timing can. This is a difficult thing from a teaching perspective. I think timing can be. It needs to be developed at every stage. So you're drilling where there's very little resistance.
Sure.
Drilling with a little bit of resistance, situational sparring, which is more resistance, and then sparring, which is full.
I guess asking where I personally developed it. Yeah. I personally developed it, especially rolling with bigger, stronger, more aggressive lower belts.
Okay.
Right. Where I've developed that,
So the intensity's there, but maybe the technical prowess isn't quite there.
Where I can typically get higher percentage.
Yeah, you're getting timing because of the intensity.
That's right.
Of size and lower belt. But the technical side isn't quite there to be where you can't even get into a position.
The window for a sweep narrows drastically as you go up with if your partner goes up in skill.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going against another black belt.
Right.
I mean, that window is so quick. If
it's typically going to have to be a chained movement.
Typically, or a kazushi or something like that, right?
Or a sweep into another sweep.
Absolutely, right. And so, but that's developed, I think, at the more, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Where then but that's hitting that. Yeah. That's being able to hit that gear too. Yeah. Right.
And I think what I was saying with the difficulty in coaching is you have those 4 stages. So drilling with darn near zero resistance, which really isn't super useful unless you're introducing a new movement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you have your drilling with some resistance, and then situational sparring, which has a decent amount of resistance, and then full on sparring. The difficult thing from a coaching side is finding the time to do all those, because in one class, they're not. If it's a new technique, especially, to get them from the first stage, which is introducing it, getting the movement down, and then to the third stage, you're lucky. It's probably not going to happen to get from there to the situational side, where there's 70% resistance, and you're trying to perform a technique that you just learned the movements to. I mean, maybe if you're like very high belts, like that can come into play. But if you're talking about your average purple and under, that's going to be really tough to do in a class, let alone 2, and then let alone an average practitioner 3 days a week.
Yep.
To do now, you have to chain classes a Monday and a Thursday and a Saturday. Let's say. I mean, that is so difficult to do.
Yep. I tell you, that's my schedule.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's helpful, and I always think about this too. Let's say that I'm going with you in situationals, and I think I have a good position. I'm talking about right now too, not at our lower.
Yeah.
Right. But no, what I was saying is when I got, if you sweep me, I'm like, okay, how did that happen, and why did why and how, and what could I have done better positionally to mitigate that, as far as it, learning at that level. And at the same point where you could say, hey, Chris, and I'm very receptive. You're like, this is how I got you with that. Right.
Yeah.
That's super, very, very effective for me. Like, or if I have someone in situationals is a perfect time. You have someone come in and get in your guard and you sweep them and you're like, okay. And then afterwards, you're like, hey, let me show you why that happened.
Oh, right.
Right. And then they start to and that starts to click, right? And then they're going to start developing that themselves too.
Yeah, and situationals, because the nature of it. You're repeating
the same position
rather than having to work to.
And we're not going to stop our sparring to say, hey, we first the point, so the sweep happened. You're like, hey, let me talk to you about that after class.
And I think this really doubles down on, like I said, purple belt and under.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, at the advanced class on Friday, showed a technique, and I really liked it. And so on Saturday, I was trying to get into it during sparring. had like 0 success. I was like, okay. Well, Sunday I decided to do 2 different open mats. And
I'm very surprised.
Yeah. But I had one goal, and it's to literally get into the position that I learned on
Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Now, I'm familiar with the style of guard. It's reverse de la Riva with a spider guard, which I used to play all the time. But I've been on the shelf for a long time.
You mean the foot that's on the hip, it has a spider?
So my left foot is, let's say, in a spider.
But your right one is in the reverse de la Riva hook. Yeah, the left foot's got a spider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember I used to do that a lot?
Yeah, same size spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're dominating one side of the body.
For sure. Yeah.
And there was 2 different sweeps and then a submission attack from there. That
Oh, I want to drill that with you because I got a bunch of questions now.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so I really couldn't do much with it on Saturday. So then Sunday I was like, I just need to stick with it, keep failing, all that. And then Saturday at one of the open mats, I was hitting it like crazy.
Were you like baiting knee cut or something? How are you getting into it?
No, I pull into you get my spider grip typically first,
And then throw your hook.
and then depending if they're passing on their knees or on their feet or on combat base, if it's combat, then it's pretty easy to get into a reverse de la Riva.
Yeah, totally.
If they're if they're standing, it's also pretty easy.
Yeah.
If they're on their knees, then there's a contingency sweep that. If they're being real heavy and staying low.
Cool.
And you kind of have to bail a little bit if they're just literally flattening out. But I only went against one person that was doing that. But I still swept them with it, though. So I got probably 6 or 7, probably 6 sweeps and then 2 submission entries. I didn't end up finishing any of them with that. So, boom, I'm already showed improvement. And then I did the second open mat at our gym, and I was still working it there. And I got the sweep a couple times.
Nice.
Got the submission, I think, once. So part of that is, and this I think goes into the what you're talking about intensity thing. Whatever you're working on, and that could be intensity, stick with it. Don't just bail. I got put into neon chest because I tried one of them.
I bet.
Where you kind of have to bait like a knee cut almost.
I was going to say, yeah.
And it's almost like you're letting them.
Yeah.
And I could not move them once they got me. I was like, this was a mistake.
Yeah, but then you know.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And there was something I needed to do there. Like I needed to have a better spider frame. So
yes, to keep the weight off of you.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then start my inversion earlier. So anyways.
Nice.
So right there, it's a learning moment. Now, because the reason I remember purple belt and under, now I think brown and black, we can probably do this where, okay, I did one class on Friday and I can start implementing in sparring and diagnosing in sparring because I think brown and black belts have such an understanding of their own body and others and feel and timing that we can kind of diagnose on the fly a little bit and get better quickly. If you're, I would say purple and under, this isn't like a.
I was going to say, how dare you? I did that move on you on Saturday. So just so you know, I hit it.
You didn't do it on me.
No, I did it on Bill.
Yeah, I rolled with you on Saturday.
I did actually try doing it on you.
I know.
You shut it down.
I did.
How did he shut it down?
Oh, I just didn't have a very good spider. I think
I killed her. I killed her spider.
Same thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I killed her spider.
Well, did you do the defense though?
I tried, but it didn't work.
That's what I.
He has a good base. Okay.
Yeah. We'll see tonight. Well, you're gonna know I'm gonna do something, but yeah.
It's all good, man. That's the whole thing. It's fun, right?
Yeah.
Because we're.
But it's that feel of like going. So actually, the guy that I was really struggling with, he was a brown belt, and he was passing on his knees. He was real low, and I was like, can I still get into this and do? Because if someone's sitting back, you can do it different,
right,
from the same grips.
But it's that problem solving.
Yeah,
and you're allowing yourself to slow that down. That's my point.
Yes.
It goes back around, right?
Yes.
So you have an intention going into a roll. You're like, okay,
not necessarily to win.
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Exactly.
Because you're going to win metaphorically by keep working.
Skill acquisition.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, it's hard to impart that on a new white belt that is still dealing with their flight or fight response. Mm-hmm. It just is. Totally. I mean, I know personally.
Totally.
I mean, how hard that is. But I think it's one of the most valuable things you can do is learn to start using those gears. Not just think that everything is, it's learn, try to, even in your quote unquote defeats, that's where a lot more, I would argue, because of the negativity bias, more learning takes place.
Well, we had a question actually from a blue belt at our gym.
Yeah.
That has been struggling with getting out of that intense gear.
Yeah.
And he's a little older guy.
Yeah, I've
Probably
been
know
working
what I'm talking about.
I do.
And, like I said, one of the things is you don't have to win the role. You don't have to win the situational. Explore the negative positions. And when you're on your heels, you're kind of allowing yourself to be playing from behind intentionally. So you don't get stuck and be like, okay, I try to teach this when I'm showing like entering in a guard is don't just step into someone's guard.
Right.
We get stuck into that and it's retarded.
No, by the way, my mom didn't like that.
The retard word?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I told her that's too bad. I didn't say it.
She doesn't like that I say it?
Yeah.
Someone else said that.
She had a problem with it. And this was just the other day. And it wasn't like directed. She was like, just some constructive criticism. I'm like, oh my God, here we go.
Oh, Olivia brought that up to me. Not that your mom said it, but
yeah.
So you think you're going to keep saying that?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. You don't want to lose that one.
I'm going like 40 years on saying it.
I know, dude. It's rough.
This is my first word.
I was just.
Would retardation be better?
Like and subscribe, comment, please.
Mama
Hardy, can you let us know if retardation is better?
Which is funny coming from her. If you ever listen to that woman's mouth.
Yeah, she's
saucy.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought she was maybe Carrie's mom, not yours.
I know.
Interesting.
That's why Carrie and her get along so well.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, so I thought it was a little odd.
I'll put it in my pocket.
Okay.
I'll smoke it.
Okay. It's just funny. You said it and I just talked to her anyway. It's funny.
Can you play the clip?
I know
please?
from The Office. I told her
You don't call retarded people retards. It's bad taste. You call your friends retards when they're acting retarded.
Thank you.
That was my point too.
My definition right there.
Yeah. I gotcha. So sorry to derail you.
It's okay. What was I talking about?
You're saying something.
Damn
it. See what happened?
Olivia?
Oh, I got distracted.
I know.
We're talking about a blue belt and...
Oh, struggling.
Yeah.
Struggling to keep it together.
And you did something stupid?
He's old. Really old.
Easy.
Dang. Sorry. Anyways, yeah.
I'm sure it was a magical.
Right. But just getting... I think it just had to do with not trying to win.
Yeah.
You don't, there's times to do that. Walking into people's guard. It's
That's what it was.
You're developing bad habits.
Yeah.
Now, I do it too, though. But just know what you're doing.
That's the point.
Know that, I'm letting this person get a grip. But if I was really wanting to be effective, I'm not going to let him get this grip. I'm not going to just walk into this guard. I'm going to get grips first, all this
people
stuff.
know. I mean, it's no secret. When I approach someone's open guard, they know exactly what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to get in the top half.
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to,
Right.
Yeah. So.
And so there's a time when it's like, okay, I want to work from behind. Go into each round situation, whatever, with some thought.
Right.
Because otherwise you will develop these bad habits of allowing them to grip first, not breaking grips, letting them get into a guard. These are all bad habits.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, sometimes you need to do it because if you never allow someone to get into a guard and you're always stingy from the get-go, then you aren't going to get the reps of what happens when someone does put
It's going to happen.
Like, so you do still need to experience that, but just know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
What were we going to say?
I don't know. It was brilliant. It's gone, though. The lion's mane just petered out, dude.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, I also burped on you.
You're a freaking mess.
I know.
Gosh.
It's horrible. I know. I warned you this time before it hit. It's just no. This time it was a grass-fed hamburger.
Is that bull testicle?
No, it was from a cow.
Okay, you know what? I heard something, and I'm just gonna put this out there.
Hello.
Oh, it's not like a rumor, but someone was trying to say that Herbamate also activates the GLP-1, just like Ozempic or semaglutide. Is that correct?
I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
Okay. I thought that was interesting.
There may. I mean, anything's within the realm of possibility. I haven't looked at the studies on it. It's really easy to do receptor binding studies in biochemistry, right? That's how they do drug development. They look at compounds, they look at the affinity, how they bind different receptors, right? And that's how the action of most drugs happen, right? And a GLP-1 agonist, that's exactly what it does. It binds to the receptor for glucagon-like peptide 1, right? And so if you're studying something like that, then you could do some just general kinetics on receptor binding and know. My point is, it's an easy study to do. So if you're going to say that, there should be some kind of data that shows that.
Yeah.
At least on in vitro. So
that's semaglutide. The episode isn't like popping really, but I see this stuff everywhere. Joe Rogan was talking about it. A lot of bad information too.
There's a lot of real bad information.
A lot of bad information.
I don't know.
But
well, that's why we have Carrie.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Nicholas Marigali.
Okay.
Oh.
So we just had Worlds.
Yep.
And maybe we'll recap on the next episode.
Yeah, let's do a recap on the next episode.
But out of this, he had quite the comment. Can I read it to you?
Please.
He says, quote, "I can't understand why lapel guard is still allowed in gi jiu-jitsu. It's an impossible guard to deal with. The grip on the lapel is so strong and comfortable that no matter what we do, we will never break it or progress. If inside bottom pants control is an illegal grip, as in when you grab the pants at the very bottom of it and you put your fingers inside, that's what he's talking about. If inside bottom pants control is an illegal grip because it's impossible to deal with, why lapel guard is taking a different approach? Hard to understand that."
Okay. Well, I just saw an example of this. Middleweight finals.
Tynan Dalpro versus Johnson Gomez.
And Tynan had a lapel on him.
He did.
And he dealt with it.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about gripping inside a gi is to prevent injury.
Yeah, that's
so
said.
That's what I've always
heard. Yeah, because you can get your fingers twisted around. It's just not too hot.
It is very difficult to defeat that grip when someone goes palm up on a pants grip. Like there's a little sneaky way as you go an inch or so up.
Yeah.
But
so
it's not impossible to
no,
deal
man.
with.
I mean, it's just like, I mean, you can take someone's lapel and baseball bat choke them. I mean, you can. It's a part of the uniform.
So I was sent this.
Well, I know because you play that
right
guard. Yeah.
By multiple people, and I said he's dead to me.
Okay.
To every single one of them.
I thought you would say something like that.
I'm a Marigali guy, but apparently I got to kill my own.
I don't look. It's the evolution of jiu-jitsu.
I will say this though.
Okay.
I think there is a place for. There's a guy named John Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Beautiful red-haired.
Yep.
Man. Very good instructor.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, in my opinion, the best that's on social media. Like
his YouTube channel is excellent.
His content is
tremendous. It's really good.
Shout out to Jason Hempstead. He's the one that showed it to me years ago. But so he made a comment about this, like probably a 3-minute video.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually like some of the stuff that he said. And I agree. Now, his opinion, and where I'm going with it, I think, is there are certain things that I don't think we need to throw all of lapel stuff out. I think what Nicholas is saying is not, I don't think he's being descriptive enough. Just like how I said earlier, we have this little comment and you say something and it's like, that's not the end all be all. There's nuance to it, right? I think there's nuance to this opinion, and some of it is actually valid. For example, lapel, let's say worm, ringworm, squid, and reverse stalo worm. These are the most common lapel guards that there are. You have lasso as well, and then spider lasso. So these are the most common lapel actual guards. And then you have 50-50 with the lapel.
So I was going to bring that one up.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, that's the one that everyone hates. That's the one that I would say is...
Was that the one that Jonathan was doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Jonathan Alves. Yeah. So that is the one that is essentially unbreakable. It's just you either give up your back and let the person take your back, which even then it's still a little squirrely, or you just sit there.
Here's my thought. Why don't you just be more proactive in calling stalling?
This is kind of where we're going. So in the Grand Prix, they tested this. It was the Absolute Grand Prix, not that long ago, 6 months maybe. They were testing a rule that said if you go into lapel 50-50, there is a clock that goes into effect.
Good.
Similar to what we've done now with double guard pulls. You have, I think, 30 seconds, 20 or 30, I can't remember, to someone needs to advance position. So if we double guard pull, you'll see the ref look at his watch and they're timing it. If someone comes up and takes top position, they get an advantage. And now the clock, they don't have to worry about the stopwatch, and then they go. Or if we double guard pull and I start really attacking a foot, it has to progress even more, or it has to be an absolute dangerous threat. It can't just be like one of these cheeky things where I'm attacking a foot for the clock to run out. If I'm just kind of barely playing with the foot and I'm making it look like it, but it's obviously not very, like the person's not even moving, right, to address it.
Not to defend it, yeah.
They'll stand you back up and you both get negatives.
Good.
Okay. I think so. For example, what John Thomas said is in basketball, they used to not be a shot clock. They introduced a shot clock. With baseball, they've introduced a pitch clock, which is recent, right? That's a year or two old. There's football, you have the play clock. There's certain things that were instituted to make the game better.
Keep action going.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've even done it with the double guard pull. I think there is a place for that with especially lapel 50-50. I think it makes sense. Being a lapel player, in like what Tynan was doing, like Jansen, this isn't, I hope someone doesn't take this like I think I know more than Jansen. But it's pretty surprising how many people don't realize the escapes from a lot of these lapel guards. And he had multiple opportunities to actually get out of squid. Obviously, I'm not in that moment in time, I get it. But there's some very basic squid escapes that he did not do. And when Tynan did not have a very good squid guard set up. Okay. So it's not this impossible thing to be, especially with worm. I mean, I'm not like the best worm guard or lapel guard player, but I think I'm all right, and like I can't even do it to like Andrew. He gets out of it every single time, like, right. It's definitely not impossible.
Well, that's what jiu-jitsu is. You run into a roadblock and you're like, well, crap, let's work this and figure out how to get around it.
Yeah, and I think there's a middle ground and there's some nuance that can happen where, and so for another example is, let's say like a lapel lasso, where some people will, if they can get the lapel to really get stretched to one side, so the gi is now very if I have the right lapel, I've made it so it's really long on one side. Does that make sense?
I do.
Slack came all the way out. I can wrap that lapel around my leg into a lasso kind of configuration like twice. So then the normal lapel lasso defense, now it's wrapped around twice, it won't work.
Right.
You have to break the grip, okay? Like hand-to-hand grip, which is extremely difficult if they're gripping it in a specific way. Now, I even get this to maybe put some sort of shot clock, if you will, because that is not an offensive position. My leg is so wrapped up, I can't even shoot a triangle with it, because a lot of time with the lapel lasso is your triangles and then your setups into squid and some other things is quite common. If I'm that wrapped up, I can't even do something. And that's what 50-50 lapel is. You're so tied up, I can't even do anything.
Yeah, then that's where stalling comes into play.
Exactly.
And you should get penalized.
Yeah, and pause it, stand them up, reset the position. And I think it's there's a place for some change there that doesn't have to be just this broad, never
Get
grab
rid
the
of
lapel.
It. Yeah.
Some people are talking about, why don't you just change the gis so they don't? It's like, what are we talking about?
Oh, man.
Like, and lapel stuff has been around a long time. Keenan systematized it, but there's been a lot of lapel stuff for a really long time. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I get it's tough to deal with, but it's one of those things where, just like heel hooks.
I know. Well, I hate it too, but I've been caught in it enough with you that I'm getting more successful. Yeah. And especially if someone else that's not as good with it throws it on, I'm like,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, you can feel the difference when there's someone that's put some time into it. And
totally right.
Someone hasn't.
You're like, oh man, this sucks.
Yeah, but there's certain positions that I think there's a place to have a conversation of changing some rules. I mean, heck, and we're all talking about like IBJJF for the most part, which after this Worlds, I hate them even more. But like the same thing with like out of bounds stuff, you know, there can be changes there, which we'll talk about in the recap, because there was some horrific.
Well, that gives me time to find something on Flow Grappling that I can actually watch.
Yeah, well, what we'll do is on our recap, if you guys want, we'll bring some matches that we think are really good to watch for entertainment, for technical prowess, to historical.
I mean, some of the semis were great that I watched.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Fantastic. So
yeah, exactly. There was actually quite a bit in this one. There was 2 more Americans that got gold. So I think that's the 7th and 8th American world champions, and then Jessica Khan and Amy Campo, and then there's another European that got gold, Fiona Davies. So
not surprising.
Yeah,
we can talk about there were some decent matches on Polaris too.
Yeah, that'll be another one that we go over. So other than that, I don't think we got anything.
No, I think that was good.
I got part 2 of our podcast with Tyler coming out on the Compassionate Viking. That's on Wednesday. So if you want to listen to that one, we get into conspiracy theories and a little bit more deeper jiu-jitsu stuff than the first one. Also, just know that he does, like, the first 20 minutes is him talking about an herb. Like, he likes to introduce an herb to people. So he's it's informational in the beginning.
What was that herb?
I forgot already.
So he talked 20 minutes on it, and you don't know what it is?
I'm sorry, Tyler.
I just was curious.
Yeah.
Now I guess I'll have to go listen to it.
Like and subscribe.
That attention span is just broad, isn't it?
Retardation.
Oh, here we go.
See y'all.